Hello YouTube, I'm your Huckleberry, and this is the Wee Knives Ferrum Forge Malice. Alright, let's get into some specs. We're looking at just over 8 inches in overall length with about a 3.5 inch blade length. It's going to come in at 0.16 on the blade thickness. We have an M390 blade in a drop point style with a flat grind and a satin finish. There's a little Ferrum Forge logo, Ferrum Forge design, M390 down there. This is a titanium frame lock, as you can see there, and the titanium does have this beautiful flamed pattern to it. This is flamed titanium, which looks really good. And it is situated for right hand tip up only. All right, let's get a weight. See how much it weighs with the AccuWeight scale. Here we go. And we're looking at right about 6.2 ounces. So a little bit of a hefty, chunky monkey there, but that's all right. And let's do some size comparisons. So here it is against the Spyderco Shaman. And in terms of overall length and blade length and everything, you are looking at about even. The Shaman's a pretty good comparison. I picked this one out because it's also got a taller blade like the Malice here. So you can see there the blade height is also going to be similar, not quite as much as the Malice, I don't think, but similar. So the Shaman's a pretty good comparison in terms of overall length there. Here it is against, let's do our Spyderco sandwich here. There's the PM2 and the Para 3 lightweight. And as you can see there, again, with the PM2, pretty similar in terms of overall length and blade length and everything else. Definitely not quite as tall on the blade, as you can see there. And then it's definitely a lot larger than the Par 3 and a lot heavier. Yeah, a lot heavier by more than double. So, but there's that. And then let's compare it against another one of my bigger blades here. Heftier knives, the Cold Steel 8015. And there you go. And I think the Cold Steel's got it beat in terms of blade length and thereby overall length just a little bit, but there you go. There it is. Okay, let's get into some pros and cons of the Malice here. The first thing is this flame tie. I really, really like the look of this flame. It's even on the back spacer. This flame titanium. I've always appreciated flame titanium. I really like the look. I think it's unique. I think it's just really cool. It hides wear pretty well, and it's just a cool overall look. So just aesthetically speaking, I really like the flame tie here. You know, they got everything. The clip, the back spacer, everything is that same kind of flamed pattern there that I really like. It is a smooth opener. It is very smooth there. It is running on bearings. I don't know if you can see there, but it is. It's running on bearings. And it is very smooth there. So a good, nice, smooth opener. The fit and finish is really good. This is the first Wee knife I've ever had. And I've always heard that the fit and finish is top notch. And after handling this for a little bit, I do believe it. The fit and finish is very nice. Contoured corners, nothing sharp, no hot spots. Here it is in my extra large hands. Fits very well. The ergonomics of it are great. It feels really good in hand, even though, I mean, it is hefty for sure, and you feel that weight, but it's nice. It's nicely balanced. It feels good in hand. The finger choil is really nice. It's really useful. There's definitely enough of a finger choil though that even for my chunky fingers here, I can really get in there, and it's a really useful finger choil there. and so that's nice as well. It does have a steel lock bar insert right there, which is good, so you don't end up with any lock stick there, because we're not getting titanium on the hardened steel, we're getting hardened steel on hardened steel, and so that's nice. And it does also, I don't know if you can see it here, let me see. Here, let me try this. Let me try closing it. There's also an over travel stop in there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but trust me, it's there. There is an over travel stop in there to keep us from overextending the lock bar when we open it. So that's also nice. That's becoming a pretty standard feature on most frame lock knives, which is good. Both the steel lock bar insert and the over travel stop, because those are very, very useful features. So that's good. It is easy to disengage the lock. There's, like I said, there's no lock stick. There's easy access right there, even with my fat thumb. To get that to disengage, it disengages easily while still locking up rock solid. There is no play vertically nor horizontally in any direction. It is rock solid lockup and still easy to disengage, which is fantastic. Well done. Well done there. It is sharp. It came very sharp. I did trade for this one, but I mean, the guy said he had gotten it. I mean, this was released not too long ago at the time of shooting this video. This has been released not too long ago. The guy that I traded with did say that he had gotten it and he'd only, fiddled around with it. It was essentially new, and I mean, it looked like it for sure when I got it. It looked pretty much brand new, and it was sharp. He said he didn't sharpen it, and I believe him. And so, but it is definitely sharp. It's actually for the thickness of 0.16, which is a pretty decent thickness there. It's still pretty slicey because the height of the blade and the flat grind, which starts up pretty high, it's still a slicey knife even with that thick blade stock. And so it was still pretty easy to use. It handled all the cutting tasks that I have very well, because it's still pretty slicey even with that thicker stock, which is nice. This, I don't know, I guess this fuller here, this groove, whatever you want to call it, you can use it to open the knife. And so it's not just for aesthetics or for lightening up. I'm sorry, I struggled with that word, guys. For getting the weight down. It's also useful. You can't, as soon as I said that, you can use it to open the knife. It does have it's just sharp enough, not sharp, but sharp enough to where you can catch your thumb there. And as you can see, open that up. This knife came in at about $283 is what this goes for. And for M390, the flame tie and everything, I believe that's a fair price. So, it's not a spectacular price, but it's fair. I don't feel like that they're getting away with anything there. I think you're getting a good amount of features for that amount of money. But there are some drawbacks. One being the detent is weak. It's not great. I can get this knife to fail, more easily than I should. And so, I mean, it does. It's not so bad that it's, unusable, unflippable, but it is a pretty weak detent. It's one of the weaker detents that I've had in a while. And this is a big, thick blade too. I mean, that's a thick stock and a tall blade. That's a lot of blade to get out as well. So that, is probably contributing as well. So that detent would need to be dialed up a couple of notches in order to get that to where, where you flick it and it won't fail, where I can't really get it to fail, but I can get it to fail with, just way too easily for me, for my personal taste. There is a lack of jimping on the top here. It does have some good texturing here on the backspacer, which, feels good in hand and locks in, but there is a lack of jimping up top here. It's just all smooth, and especially when you have a finger choil and can choke up, I do like some jimping up at the top there, so that when you're digging in and doing some, harder push cuts or draw cuts or something of that nature, that you've got that jimping to lock in there, and it's just, I mean, it is smooth right there. And so when you're choking up, it's missing some jimping there. It is heavy. As you saw there, we got about 3.5 inches of blade and 6.2 ounces of weight. It's heavy, and you feel it. I'm not someone who's just, really big into saving every ounce. It's not something that I find super necessary for my everyday life. But when you start getting up into over 6 ounces, that's when I start feeling it kind of pull on my pockets. When I have it in my pocket, I could kind of feel it pulling down a little bit when you're getting up into over the 6 ounce range. And that's the only time that it really starts to bother me, is when I can kind of feel it. Because then when I walk and, you sit down and just kind of going throughout your day, you feel that weight a little bit more when you start getting into that range. And so, I mean, it's heavy. It could have used, that's a good chunk of titanium there that is not milled out whatsoever. There is no milling in there. And I mean, you can see there, that is a decent chunk of titanium on both sides. So it could have stood some internal milling for sure, in my opinion. For me, for my personal taste, we could have used some mill in there and maybe saved an ounce or something, anything, because it's heavy, it's chunky. This clip I found to be a little bit too grabby. When I'm getting it out of the pocket, the tension may be a little bit too much there, because it would grab the kind of, when you're pulling out, and you get to that point there at the top of your pocket, you'd have to give it a little bit extra to get it to pull out. And over time, of course, that's going to wear away at the pocket and eat away at the pocket there a little bit. And so the clip was a little bit grabby for my taste. So overall, this is a very nicely finished knife. This is a good ergonomic knife. You're getting good materials, M390 flame titanium. It's a good look. I love the look of the flame tie and everything. But the weak detent really, God, I was so disappointed with that. It bothers me, that weak detent. And combined with the weight, this is getting into the range where it's a little bit heavier than I like. So those two things especially kind of knock this knife down a notch for me. I can't knock the fit and finish or anything else like that. The materials, all that's great. But just that weak detent and the heft of it is just more than what I like. If you're someone, then those two things, and like I said, it's not the worst detent I've ever had, but it's not just great either. And so it really affects the action there overall for me. So those two things I wouldn't buy this knife again because of those two things. But if you're someone and you look at that and you say, I really love the look at that, I love the M390, and you got the thick stock, but it's still slicey, and you're like, I can get over the weak detent because it's not the worst, and the weight doesn't bother me, then this is a great knife for you. Definitely. It is a big, hard use knife that's going to stand up to abuse, in my opinion. It's going to stand up to some hard work, which is great. But for me personally, it's a no for me, just because of like I said, mainly the weight and the weak detent kind of do it in for me, where I'm just like, for that amount of money, there are other knives that I'd like to have, before this one because of those two issues. But if those two things don't bother you, go ahead and pick one up. You won't be disappointed, because overall, it is still a well-finished ergonomic knife. So, okay, guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, give me a thumbs down. Let me know in the comments what you like, dislike. Hit the subscribe and the notification bell. I have a lot more knife reviews coming. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Goodbye.